Hey everybody, Adam Savage, and I am at Earl Hays Press. I mean, I can't even say anything quickly and pithy about it because I'm just so happy in this space. But Carly, I am looking at the passports that are part of this other project we're working on here with Earl Hays. And I have this question for you, which is how? I don't understand how this piece of paper looks as good as it does. And I'll explain. This gold on the passport lettering, what machine does this for you guys?
Yeah, so we mainly work with a lot of vinyl. Our biggest machine that we've been using right now is the Mamaki UV printer. So the UV printer gets to cure the ink as it's printing. You'll see it makes a UV light after each round of printing, which creates this kind of like texture. Right. So we actually printed on a gold material. You can kind of see when you peel it up that it's silver on the back.
So this is what we're looking on.
So we're doing this.
Print this over that.
Yep. So we're really just printing on all the color rather than printing on the gold.
Right, because the normal way you guys used to do this is with hot foil stamping, right?
Yep. So we would start with a white vinyl and then add any sort of color and layers onto that. With this machine, we're able to add so much more texture with different layers of white ink and clear ink to create a ton of different textures. With this, you can kind of have like a lowered version of the gold.
Yeah.
And then we do a similar thing with credit cards in the opposite direction where we add clear layers to add kind of this like raised credit card texture as well.
Oh, so it's dimensional. I can feel it.
Yep, and then we just mount it on a basic data card with no information on it or anything, and we just have two sides. We also print little metal chips that we can add to it for our chip cards.
Oh my God. This is So this printer, it prints out ink that it can dry, and it can do that in multiple layers until it's dimensional and actually has...
Yeah, so we've kind of like tested its limits. They have other versions that you can go even higher, almost essentially doing 3D printing. The version we have, this is about as far as we go. It's kind of a dimensional license plate. We can do about 5 layers of clear up. So it's really nice to get different layers of texture and dimensionality.
I am blown away. When I first saw this, I knew the thing would be cool. I didn't realize it would be that cool. This just like almost feels like fabric.
Yeah, honestly, the first day we got it, we were just as excited.
Really?
We went to the Mamaki test studio, which is here in town as well.
Yeah.
We were super excited. People were printing billboards, that sort of thing on these type of printers as well. And we're like, oh, we know exactly how we want to use this for all of our... We were asking the weirdest questions there, I'm sure that day. We're just like, okay, but can it work on a can? Can it work on a liquor bottle? Which we've been able to figure out. This is a chip bag, for example, where we have like we did this for a benefit event. So we're able to have a raised logo kind of creating some different dimension in products as well.
That almost looks like it's been embossed into
Yeah, it was a big ask that we were getting from a lot of our customers. Like, can we have embossed? Can we have embossed, whatever?
And embossing isn't hard, but it's time consuming, especially for small batch runs.
Yes, yeah. If someone needs 20 versions of a book or a thing, it's a much smaller run than if you need 1,000 of them, which you can go to an embosser, an offset printer, or that sort of thing.
So I'm noticing, can we talk about how this actually works? I'm noticing 8 bottles of inks.
Yeah, so we have our basic CMYK. So that's making all of our colors. Then we have 2 bottles of clear. You can see they're yellow. They have a month left, but we're definitely going to use them up in a month. Then we have 2 bottles of white. Okay. So those are going to be our specialty inks. The white is really pure, which was like another hard thing to find in a printer, is a white ink that's very white and very opaque.
And so it's these 4 that allow you to do that and build up.
Yep, they're building up all of those, which is also why we need 2 of each rather than we just have 1 of each of all the colors.
Amazing.
This little fill around the cut lines, because it's so shiny, sometimes the sensor that's sensing where to cut everything, because it's a precision.
This does the cutting on its own.
It can do cutting as well, which is super nice. Our old machine, we would print it, take it off, laminate it, put it back on, and it would cut it. This one does it all in one go, so you're print and cut at the same time.
I just had a vision that it must be really fun to work at this company.
Yeah.
Right, where they're like, what else could we do?
Yeah, they're just trying to figure out fun ways to print things, and we're finding fun ways to use them.
Besides this and the credit cards, do you have any other weird and wonderful things that's printed?
Yeah, so one of the other things that we get asked to do a lot is books. So if you need, a lot of times a film or a movie, it doesn't need one book.
Right.
It doesn't need 1,000 books, right? You don't
Right.
need to go to a printer and print 1,000 books with all inside pages. What we do is go to half price books, we go to yard sales, we go to wherever, we buy any book that they have.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, we'll design a cover. So I designed this nice little cover, tested Earl Hays Press. A nice little, so this is just a paper copy. I measured the book. This is just, I don't know, some classic.
A sketchbook, sure.
Some book.
Oh, no, look at that.
The House of Seven Gables.
Very nice.
A classic. So we just measured it. I did a little paper test to see what that would look like. And now we can put it into the printer. So the 3 layers that we'll do on this is we'll have a white layer to kind of block out the gold, where the gold isn't going to go, where this white is will be gold.
Okay.
Then we'll have a color layer, which is going to be this like color, the leather type look. And then we'll have clear layers, which is building up the leather texture.
Oh, so we're about to actually do this.
Yeah, we can
watch it do its thing.
Yep, and then we can take off this little paper sample and mount it on this book, and then we'll have a leather book ready to go.
This apparently can print what looks like and feels like leather. Oh, let's try it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I really didn't realize that's what we're about to do. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you using proprietary software in terms of laying out the various layers?
Yeah, so I started in Illustrator.
Okay.
So we have, I'm sure we have this like leather texture. It's been here as long as I've been here. We use the leather texture all the time.
Okay.
We have this leather texture. I believe these are both Walden fonts, which is some of our favorite fonts. They have great historical fonts if you ever need some Walden fonts.
Nice to know.
And then we just kind of laid it out in Illustrator. Then what I do is I have this layer that actually looks like basically what we want it to look like. Then I have a different layer that's kind of like a bitmap version of this leather texture. It's just black and white, which allows the black will get red as texture and the white will not get printed at all. So I just have those 2 layers, and then the white layer is everything except that will be gold. So I have those 3 layers going, and then I just send it.
Amazing. There used to be this technique back when I was a graphic designer in the 80s called thermography. They still exist. If you ever held a business card in which the ink is like dimensional, this was like poor man's embossing, was literally its sales point back in the 80s. I had business cards that were thermographically printed, and this is doing that as a one-off.
Yeah, I think we have a Cricut machine too that we use for a couple different things.
I love the Cricut.
I think there's a couple versions of ways to do embossing with that as well.
Nice.
This can just be like the most precise every single time on vinyl that can be mounted onto books.
Incredible.
Great. All right, so it's starting to go. It'll take a little while to do all those different layers.
Oh, it smells good.
Oh yeah, it has a weird chemical reaction to some foods. Like we've eaten a banana in here, we've had some alcohol in here before, and it makes everything taste weird. It's very odd.
Amazing. Carly, this looks ready.
Yep, so it's done all the different layers. It finished off with the little color layer. Whoa. And now we're on here, you can feel the leather texture.
Wait a minute. That's I can feel the leather texture.
Yeah, so we have some gold peeking through.
But wait a second,
layering.
I didn't realize that there was dimensional texture to be, I mean, I guess that makes sense because it can print dimensionally and bake it, but like this actually feels like a leatherette. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's thinking through the different layers that we kind of got to this technique where we're like, okay, so we'll have a white layer that's more solid, and then for these clear layers, we'll just have these little indentations in the different places that leather would be.
Oh my God.
And you're able to create that kind of leather texture.
That's so much fun is what the word
fun.
that's coming to my mind. Amazing.
Yeah, because it's all plastic.
So what's the next step here?
All right, we'll just cut it off with the machine, so it'll do that itself, easy peasy. Now what we're gonna do...
That was beautiful.
I know, that one's easy.
All right.
Now we're just gonna cut it along this edge and we'll tear off my little paper test and put it on the real book.
Okay.
All right. right, so just cut along this leather texture.
I really am only just starting to grasp the possibilities here.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to take it. We've had this machine for less than a year, and we're already redoing ways that we've been doing things for since the 90s at least.
Wow.
So it's been really fun to just be like, okay, we have this order that we might have had every year for as long as we've been open. How are we going to do it differently?
Well, even just for passports, because they are very dimensional.
Yes.
And this is simply color, although it looks quite dimensional. That mottled pebble texture of a passport with that chrome without having to do foil stamp, to do it as a one-step operation.
Yeah, and in less than an hour. It's
Right.
just, it's really opens up a lot of possibilities, especially for like hero shots, 4K cameras, everything getting more and more detail oriented. We want to make sure. It's in some ways similar to how bookbinders wrap their book covers with any sort of leather, if it was real leather, or fabric at all. We're just doing it with plastic and vinyl.
Well, I mean, I also love how many different possibilities one could iterate with this process quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of the time when you're dealing with custom processes with multiple finishes and stuff, I'm sure you have to show the client things that are approximations, but that are far from exact, and that disconnect can lead to weird expectations.
Yes.
But this allows you to actually print something that looks almost identical to the final product in an amount of time suitable for a prototype.
Yes, it is nice. There are lots of videos that I'm sending very often to the clients as proofs, which I think is new, because I think even when I started working here, I started here in 2021, that I was always just sending pictures of proofs. It's pretty normal.
Right.
Now I'm sending videos
So that
because
they can
you're
see how
really
it moves.
looking at how this texture is going to look on camera
How it changes in the light.
as you're moving it around.
Amazing.
All right, we got a book.
Dude, that was effectively 45 minutes from start to finish. That is totally incredible. And that feeling is great.
Yeah. And like, if we need it, if someone's like, oh, it looks great, but we need an inside cover, it'd be so easy to cover this with a piece of paper.
Right,
if they need one insert shot of the inside of a book, we can tape a page in. They're looking at it like this. There's like so many different ways to use this book that isn't buying a run of 1,000 books from offset printer.
And again, this allows you, I mean, I'm sure this has happened here where a client has gone, I want gold text. And you go and you do it and they're like, no, I want shiny gold text, not... Right?
Or the exact opposite.
Exactly. And this allows you to answer those questions on the fly with them.
Yep. Yeah, it's great.
Is there something you're working on towards the future for this? Is there something you're like holding on in your head as like a holy grail?
I think the great part of it is that gets brought to us a day before they need it.
Amazing.
That's how this industry works. I think we have a prop master come in and be like, oh, I need a matchbook that's gold and shiny and matte and 20 different things. And then I'll figure it out that day.
But whereas normally that might be a really extensive process, now you've got this machine that can do that at less than an hour.
Yeah, the problem solving becomes a much quicker thing. It's like, okay, how can I use the Mamaki to make this work out for me?
Carly, thank you so much for walking through this. This is just amazing.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that it worked out.
Dude, it's so thrilling. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that video. I cannot tell you how much fun we had filming it. I want to take a moment to thank Michael Corey, Props to History, and specifically Earl Hays Press for their incredible generosity of the time and energy they have given us to let us follow along as they unpack and reveal the incredible history in this and all of their other buildings. And if you have been watching any of these Earl Hays videos and content and wondering to yourself, how do I add any of that incredible history to my prop collection? You are in luck because Earl Hays has started to make parts of their incredible collection available to the public. If you've ever wanted your own package of Smeat, well, you can follow the link in the description below and go buy it. This is just one of many things available, and more will become available as time continues. Thanks again to Michael and Earl Hays. See you guys later.